Welcome into episode number 140 of The Voice Behind the Voice. I'm Sean Aronson, the TV and radio broadcaster for the St. Paul Saints, an independent minor league baseball team in the Twin Cities. Well, here we are. New Year's. Happy New Year's to everyone. 2019. Hopefully you've rung it in, had a good time, enjoyed yourself. I'm not the type of person, I don't stay out late. I can't do it. Like, the East Coast New Year's is the way that I can do it, although which I guess is really an hour ahead, so it's not much of a big thing here in the Central Time Zone. I think in the last 10 years, I've spent one New Year's in California, and I did the whole East Coast thing, maybe two, but I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. My nieces were younger, obviously, than they are now. We did the whole East Coast 9 o'clock thing, and then put them to bed. I don't remember if last year I was here in town in Minnesota. I don't remember if I reached midnight or not. I may have shut it down before midnight. So seriously, I'm old, folks. I can't do that anymore. But before I get to episode 140 and we wrap up another full year of this podcast, a few people that I want to thank that have been instrumental in helping me with this podcast. And actually someone new who you can't see right now, and he is off to the side. He helps most recently shoot these opens probably over the last few months. But Zach Neubauer, who was hired here, there's his hand on the video side of things. But he's been gracious enough to give me a few minutes of his time every Monday to record these opens. We hired him here with the St. Paul Saints. He worked with us last year, did such a good job that Jordan Lynn, who is our video production guru here, hired him so that we can increase the team. But he's been great with his time. Jordan Lynn, obviously, has been with me since the beginning of this. He helps me with all the teases and the graphics and things like that you see me put out on social media. He has been there since day one and has helped me with this and helped me in terms of buying the right equipment for me to get set up. Every question I have on the technical side, he has been there, and Jordan has been incredible. And, of course, the guy that I tell to roll the open every week, J.W. Cox. And I alluded to it a few weeks ago that he's coming back as my part-time broadcast assistant, although I think at this point he's no longer a broadcast assistant. He's just part of the broadcast. A guy that's turned into a great friend, a guy that when he's not with the Saints does St. Cloud football and basketball. And I tell you what, if he didn't just want to stay here in Minnesota because he's got a family, he's got a daughter, if he was open to looking at other states, this guy would have a number one gig all to himself anywhere out there. He's a consummate professional. He is fantastic at what he does on the play-by-play side. And he's been great. He's the guy that cuts all my teases on the audio side. He puts together the highlight packages at the end for each of these broadcasters. He really takes what I do and puts it all together so that I can put it out every Tuesday morning. And without him, this podcast doesn't get past episode number 1. I remember turning to him 2.5 years ago now and saying, I have this idea. Actually, it was 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago around Christmas time now that I turned to him and I said, I have this idea. Are you interested in helping me out? I said, if I ever make money off this thing, which, by the way, I have not, that I'd be happy to pay you, but I can't promise you anything. And he said, I'm on board. I'll help you out. And I'm sure there are some weeks out there where he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. And when is this going to stop? But he never complains. He never says anything. He does it. He's been great. So I cannot thank JW enough. And, of course, everybody out there that has listened, whether you've listened to one episode, whether you're listening to your 140th episode, this is not possible without you. The numbers have continued to grow month by month. As a matter of fact, I think in back-to-back months over the summer, we set record highs in terms of listeners. And, look, I'm not putting up numbers that are going to blow the podcast world out of the water, or people are going to look at and say, hey, you really need to do some sort of national show where you get a bunch of advertisers. I don't put up those kind of numbers, but I've got a very, very good base, a very good following. And for those of you that listen and recommend this podcast to everybody else, I thank you very much and hope that 2019 is even better than what 2018 was. Again, I don't know how much longer this is going to go. I don't know how much longer I'm going to continue to do this, but the interest appears to still be there. People continue to tune in, and I continue to get better numbers, per episode. It's been a joy to watch and a joy to do. And of course, the broadcasters and the communications directors, the broadcasters that agree to sit down with me, the communications directors that help me set these interviews, these chats up. Obviously, none of it would be possible without them, because if there's no one to want to sit down with me, then it's just me kind of talking to myself, and that's pretty boring, as most of you realize when you listen to these opens and fast forward through them. But hey, it is what it is. So thank you to everybody that has made this possible. And my thanks for this week, for episode number 140, goes to Wayne Larrivee of the Green Bay Packers. Tried for the last, at least last year, to get him. I nearly had him last year. Unfortunately, it didn't work out a year ago. I was able to get him this year. They had the Sunday night football game here in town, and so we sat down on Sunday, probably about 10 o'clock at the hotel that the team stays at, and in kind of a, little area off to the side. Didn't get a whole lot of people coming by, but it wasn't in like a private area. It wasn't really at the front desk, but this hotel's got kind of a back area, like a back entrance, and so we sat there and did it. And so a couple of times you might hear the sliding glass doors open, or the automatic doors, I should say, and people coming in and out. And I think you hear some football players in the background at one point. But overall, Wayne Larrivee, I mean, he's been around for a long time, and we talk about his start and how he got to the Packers and his story. Great guy. I say that about everybody, but they've all been fantastic. I haven't had one bad apple in the bunch. So if you've not subscribed to the podcast, you can do so on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Again, be sure to rate it. Be sure to share it with your friends, and you can share it via social media, Twitter @TheVoiceBTV, Facebook, facebook.com/TheVoiceBTV, and you can always email me, thevoicebtv@gmail.com. All right, let's get to it. Episode number 140 with Wayne Larrivee of the Green Bay Packers. Happy New Year's, everyone. Happy New Year's, JW. Now, JW, roll the open.
What was interesting was it was like smoke coming over the south rim of Soldier Field, smoke coming in. And, you thought, well, somebody's tailgate really got out of hand here. Sure. But it was fog, and it was limited to just this part of downtown Chicago. And it was one of the most phenomenal things ever to happen from a meteorological standpoint. And Roger was right. It got worse as the game went on, and you just couldn't see anything. I remember describing an interception. I saw Maurice Douglas, a safety, intercept the football and disappear into the fog is what I said.